Yo YouTube, GK's back with another Blue Protocol video. As you know, if you've been following the channel, I have been super vocal and hyped about Blue Protocol. I thought this was the next big MMO, especially with the anime genre subtext on it. I was super excited about this. I do play Final Fantasy XIV and it is exploding right now, and that's a really good thing, but I did say I wanted a new MMO, a next-gen MMO, and Blue Protocol to me was it. And I've talked about this before, but we're gonna really talk about it now because the disappointment has really set in as to what Blue Protocol actually is and what it kinda will be. It's not what we thought, and we knew this a while ago. Could have been something special. It should have been something special. And now my fear is that it will just end up being a huge disappointment to the MMO fans like me and you. But if you do like the video, please leave a like, as that lets me know y'all want to see more MMO type news.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
So to set this video up, I'm going to talk about two other games, what we want and what we don't want. Mind you, everything we see still currently about Blue Protocol is that it is an MMO of our dreams. Combat looks great, the world looks great, the characters look great. I mean, it just screamed, I am going to be great. But let me tell you what Blue Protocol could have been. Blue Protocol could have been .hack reimagined and a real MMO. If you don't know what .hack is, you're missing out on one of the best, if not the best, mock MMO games ever created. It gave you the feeling of playing MMO without, playing an MMO online subscription-based service. The original quadrilogy and the following trilogy, which you can get a bundle on PlayStation 4, I believe, and play those three. You don't need to know the previous 4 games to enjoy the 3. In fact, you're still going to love it. It has some of the best music and some of the best vibes I've ever played in a video game franchise, that .hack GU series. But for those that get the reference, this is what we thought Blue Protocol was going to be. This come to life in an actual world. It would have been so dope, but it seems Blue Protocol has taken the route of a little game you may have heard of, Gentian Impact. This is what we don't want. And I will be the first to say I loved Genshin Impact for the first 6 or 7 months. I thought what that game was trying to do and what it did really sold it and had potential in winning even categories at the Game Awards, I thought. It was that good and that fresh and that innovative. But once you dig into Genshin Impact, fully understand us Western audiences what a gacha game is, you immediately end up just putting the game down. That's what me and a friend did. We just put the game down. It got to be way too much. I know it's like a $1 billion franchise or whatever, but it's pay to win. And this aspect of pay to win, pay to play, free to play, all of that I think is getting used a little bit too liberally in their definitions. Pay to win to me has always been that there's a competitive aspect to it that isn't PvE, so therefore you're paying to win. Genshin Impact to me even takes it a step further and is worse because it's pay to win against PvE. There's some content you can't do in Genshin Impact, no matter how hard you grind, no matter how much you play. It is almost impossible to do without spending some money. And their monetization scheme, while attractive at first, really starts to fall through once you get really into the game like I did and you're up in your world level. Just got to be too much, and this is not what we want because of how the game works intrinsically. Not how it looks, not how it plays. The systems of the game are just that bad in my opinion, and Blue Protocol unfortunately is gonna go the Genshin Impact route. That's not to say Blue Protocol is going to do a one-to-one what Genshin Impact is doing. I'm saying that the similarities are going to be very, very apparent when we look at Blue Protocol right now from this article by MMO Byte. MMO Byte by Byte6, everything you need to know about Blue Protocol in 2021. It's listed as a beautiful upcoming anime MMORPG from Bandai Namco, the developers of the Tales of series, God Eater, Code Vein, and more. And let's talk about those games from Bandai really quick. Tales of series, I personally tried it, I could not get into it. God Eater was whatever. Code Vein was okay. It was an okay game, but we see how well Scarlet Nexus is doing, and that's not too good, right? But it's interesting that MMO Byte is still listing it as an MMO, even when the developers came out and said that it's not really an MMO. It's more of a cooperative game, not massively multiplayer. That is the key part when talking and defining a game, whether it's an MMO or it's some kind of multiplayer game. The business model of it is going to be entirely free to play. You won't be required to purchase the game, nor will you have to pay a subscription to play it monthly. This is a positive and a negative. Have you ever heard the phrase, you get what you pay for? Or in this case, you get what you don't pay for? I'm all about free. We're broke out here. I'm all about freedom to players. But we know what that entails when this happens. You get to the over monetization because the developers have to get paid somehow. And going free to play and using that as a justification to pay the developers is not a cause and effect in my opinion. Just charge for your game. Charge for it. If it's good, we will pay. If it's really good MMO, we will want to play it monthly and pay our subscription. We don't have problems with that because we're MMO fans and that's what we yearn for. But you can see how the problems are starting to arise. Blue Protocol is much like FF14, Blade and Soul, and Terra, utilizes large, open, segregated zones separated by small, short loading screens. This is a rather interesting conversation because it is kind of a last-gen way of thinking about the open world map, even though when you look back at old MMOs like World of Warcraft, where you can travel through the zones and you can see the whole map and it's all one big thing, it works very well when you're using small little pixelated things. But we see in this kind of last gen era where the graphics do look good, you have to do this kind of instance thing. I cannot wait for the next gen where we have the high fidelity graphics and we have that one open giant map. The combat of Blue Protocol is action based, which I'm super excited about. An action oriented MMO that isn't tap to target. Though I do like tap to target, I do feel that it is an older way to do things and I want next gen. So action based is where it's at because it's just more intensive and more involved. I know a lot of people don't like it necessarily because there is a higher skill ceiling to doing action-based combat and like making it look good and being totally good at it versus a tap to target or like an RPG system where it's a weight system and it's like just back and forth, back and forth. Will it be pay to win? Not that we're made aware of. They use this wordage because the chances are that it might be pay to win just like Genshin is for its PvE. What makes Blue Protocol different is that it's using a different gearing method and style in terms of how MMOs usually work, like the loot. In this, you're going to kind of be crafting your armor, and that sounds really good to me. A little bit of innovation there that can set Blue Protocol aside from other MMOs. But it's not an MMO, it's more like Monster Hunter. And of course, as an anime-based game, one thing that caught me initially was the character creation options. Hopefully there's a lot more and it can get really in-depth because that's part of the fun. Are there classes in Blue Protocol, which I'm going to start referring to as a BP? Of course there's 4 classes at the moment. In fact, they even added one. The game has been in beta for about a year now. The Heavy Smasher, Heavy Sword, and honestly the aesthetic of it looks so freaking good. I just want Blue Protocol to be good, is what I'm saying. But the model of the game, and now that it's not really an MMO and the devs came out and said that, has me extremely worried and disappointed. Because I mean, this looks cool. The graphics are obviously amazing. What types of PvE? Well, there's dungeons, raids, world bosses, a map to fight on, the classic things you expect in an MMO. What type of PvP? There is no PvP, and this is one of the bigger problems and one of the telltale signs that the game is not actually an MMO. MMOs offer PvP. Why? Because MMOs try to be the most complete games, always have been and always should strive to be. Give players the option to do whatever they want. The communities grow with those options like a PvP. Those options need to be there to make the world feel full. Because the part of an MMO that is most important, that is very different from a free-to-play battle royale, let's say, that there are options. Hopefully the game will launch on all the other consoles, but right now Xbox is the only console left out of the release platforms. It also is unconfirmed if it will release on Steam and are uncertain if it will have cross-play functionality. They kind of want to do like a segregated release where one country will get the game and then the rest of the world will get the game a year later, and that has been pushed back, so we're really looking at the end of 2022 for a potential release date. And this kind of always has me chuckling. Will it have a cash shop? Of course a free-to-play game is going to have a cash shop. Now, does that mean it's okay for games that you pay a monthly subscription for to have a cash shop? Yeah, they can have a cash shop too. Is it necessary? Probably not, but there are pros and cons to both. And to argue about cash shops or mounts that they release to buy and purchase, to me just is a waste of energy and a waste of time. These companies can give you the option to buy more. If you are a person who can't control themselves, then yes, you will complain about a cash shop. I think the majority of players can control themselves and also point out something egregious in a cash shop. So cash shop doesn't necessarily mean bad, but yes, Blue Protocol will have one. And again, when you're talking about an MMO, player housing becomes a discussion. And right now, there isn't anything in a BP that says there will be that. So no PvP and no player housing. The game is looking less and less like an MMO than it was initially perceived. It will have a kind of guild system, but guild systems, you know, for example, Apex has one where you make a little guild. It really means nothing. Or it can have a very complex one, like a World of Warcraft or a Final Fantasy XIV one, where there's a lot of things to do. We'll just have to see how comprehensive the guild system is going to be in Blue Protocol. But when you don't have PvP and you're not having housing, well, the point of the guild starts to diminish more and more. The developers have been working on the game and working on it consistently, and they have been listening to feedback and making changes to combat and dungeons and how things work, and that is commendable and respectable. If you do want to keep up on Blue Protocol news, you could come here because there's really not that many updates, or you can check out MMO Bite, where obviously I got this from, and that YouTube channel by the same name. Overall, I'm worried about Blue Protocol. Is it going to look and play just like Genshin Impact? Or is it going to be that dot hack MMO we've always wanted? That next big thing? I'm not so sure anymore. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought. I'm the grown kid.